stories of what they think you're like, but I've heard the tender whisper of love in the dead of night, and you tell me that you're proud and that I'll never be alone. You're a good, good father. It's who you are. It's who you are. It's who you are. And I'm loved by you. It's who I am. It's who I am. It's who I am. Oh, I've seen many searching for answers far and wide, but I know we're all searching for answers that are inside, 'cause you know just what we need before we ever say a word. You're a good, good father. It's who you are. It's who you are. It's who you are. And I'm loved by you. It's who I am. It's who I am. It's who I am. You're a good, good father. It's who you are. It's who you are. It's who you are. And I'm loved by you. It's who I am. It's who I am. It's who I am. Because we're perfect in all of our ways. We're perfect in all of our ways. We're perfect in all of our ways to me. We are perfect in all of our ways. We're perfect in all of our ways. We're perfect in all our own ways to me. Oh, it's love so undeniable, I can hardly speak. It's peace so unexplainable, I can hardly think as you call me deeper still, and you call me deeper still, and you call me deeper still into love. Love, you're a good, good father. It's who you are. It's who you are. It's who you are. And I'm loved by you. It's who I am. It's who I am. It's who I am. You're a good, good father. It's who you are. It's who you are. It's who you are. And I'm loved by you. It's who I am. It's who I am. It's who I am. 'Cause we're perfect in all our own ways. We're perfect in all our own ways. We're perfect in all our own ways to me. We're perfect in all our own ways. We're perfect in all our own ways. We're perfect in all our own ways to me.
Brian Griesmeyer. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, guys. And thank you, Ben. Yes. All righty. Well, we are continuing our series based on the book, Escaping the Chaos Within. And as we are continuing this series, I'm beginning to realize that it's not so much about escaping the chaos within as about transmuting the chaos within into usable energy. we have a lot of energy in our sound system today. Am I loose? Here comes John to save the day. Maybe that did it. That might have been it. No. Where's the handheld mic? We'll just... Thank you. Thank you, John. Thank you, Martine. All right, so I'm not used to using this one. What is chaos? Well, we have learned that chaos we feel within in life so often has to do with under or non-directed energy. It's just energy. It just is. And because we're not consciously guiding and directing that energy within us, it just flows wherever it will and creates chaos. And we look around our world today and we see a lot of chaos. We realize that that's a reflection of what is going on within us. Now, again, I said this last week. I'm going to say it again. It's not all your fault. We all have a little bit of chaos in us. And as a species, the more chaos within us there is, we know it manifests in the outer. So one of the ways we can help heal the world is begin to understand how our personal energy works, how we can use it, and how we can bring direction to that unfocused energy within us that we call chaos to heal the world. And the more of us that do it, the more calmer and focused the world becomes. So we've been looking at that process over the last 6 weeks. This is week number 6. And this week we're going to talk about maintaining our balance. Anybody ever feel unbalanced? No, I didn't ask if you were unbalanced. But I'm sure there are times in our lives where we all feel a little bit unbalanced, where the world is just with everything that's coming at us. We feel unbalanced. Or is it only me? It's only me? Oh, okay. Well, then this is going to be my story. Last week, we talked about giving and receiving and how we have to do both in order to live an abundant life. And I also mentioned that we must have balance in that giving and receiving. If we give all, but we don't accept anything in return, we're out of balance. If we take and we don't give out in return, we are out of balance. The world, all of creation requires balance. It's necessary in every area of life. When we get out of balance, we become ensnared in chaotic energy. Now, in Unity, we often talk about manifesting what we want in our lives. That's one of the things that we do in Unity. We take personal responsibility for manifesting, creating the world that we want to live in. We work on manifesting more peace, better health, deeper relationships, better financial prosperity, and we work on those. We read, we study, we come to hear these lessons, we go to classes, we feed each other through things we say afterwards, and often we do manifest good results. But again, there must be balance. And one area where I see people struggle quite often is defining what we want in our lives. If you're like me, you've probably had negative experiences in your life. And certainly none of us wants to repeat those negative experiences. But have you ever taken the time to identify the non-negotiable needs you have in life? And at the same time, taken the time to identify the non-negotiable things you do not want in your life. You know, we spend lots of time creating dream boards and affirmations and all of this to bring into our consciousness the awareness of what it is we want in life, what we want to manifest, what we want to create, and we do nothing about identifying what we don't want in our lives. How many of us ever take the time to make it clear to ourselves, to others, to the universe, those things that we will not tolerate in our lives? I bet none of us have done it. It's not something we are trained to do. It's not something we are taught about. We're only taught about to identify what we do want. And we're good at it. We're really good at identifying what we want, what we will accept, what we will invite in, but not on what we don't want. And perhaps the reason for that is because, especially in New Thought, unity and movements like this, we're taught to never say anything negative. We have to always be positive. You know, you've had a bad day. The dog pooped on the carpet. The kids threw up. You know, something happened and you walk into church. How are you doing? I'm doing fine. We can never, ever, ever speak about anything bad. Now, I think that's something we need to look at because life happens. You know what they say? I'm not going to say that word. Poo happens. Poo happens. Now, we don't want to affirm the negative. That's not helpful, because when we affirm it, we give it energy. But to not acknowledge it at all, I think, leaves a space, leaves a gap within us for that energy then to fill in and feed that. And this is where awareness comes in. It is perfectly acceptable to recognize that not everything in life is good. You know, we've all heard people say, it's all good. No, it's not. There are things in our world that are not good. Inequality is not good. Disrespect is not good. Abuse is not good. Poverty is not good. It's not all good. The outworking of energy may be what we label as bad, but it's important to understand that the energy behind those things that we have labeled as not good, the energy itself is neither good nor bad. It is just energy. Therefore, we do not want to label the energy. We recognize the manifestation. And in recognizing the manifestation, we see, oh, this is an area where I can change the energy. This is the area where, I can be made new if it's a health issue or anything like that. This is an energy that I can help shift to erase poverty, erase homelessness, erase drug abuse, erase disrespect, whatever. But the important thing is to remember we do not judge the energy. The energy is there waiting for direction. Jesus talked about this. He talked a lot about it. In Matthew 7:1, I'm going to put it into not the King James English that Jesus did not speak. I'm going to put it into modern English. Stop judging so that you won't be judged. Because the way you judge will be the way that you will be judged. And you will be evaluated by the standard by which you evaluate. Now, we usually understand this statement to be about judging other people. And it is. But in the original Aramaic, Jesus didn't say people. He just said, do not judge. What if he was actually sharing an older Buddhist tradition, an older Buddhist teaching that says, stop judging anything? The Buddha said that the first thing he recommended was not to make judgments. And if you must make a judgment, do not make it hastily or impulsively. The Buddha taught that most things are multifaceted and take time to reveal themselves to us fully. Likewise, knowledge about something usually comes, listen to this carefully, usually comes at the end of a process of accumulating data. How many times do we judge something or someone without getting all the facts? I've done it. I bet you've done it too. You don't have to confess. True judgment, what we call in unity discernment, comes after we have accumulated the data. And I want to speak about the difference between judgment and discernment. One of our 12 powers originally was called judgment back in 100 years ago, because the word discernment had not come into usage yet. But as we evolve in everything, that thing that Charles Fillmore labeled as judgment, we have come to realize is really discernment. Judgment says, this is bad, this is good. Discernment says, this is good or bad for me. This is good or bad and can be changed if necessary. Discernment says, what do I do with this? How do I embrace this? How do I shift it? So what Jesus was really talking about was energy and what we do with energy and what we don't do. We do not judge the energy behind anything. We discern how we can shift it. The Buddha went on to teach that likewise knowledge of something usually comes at the end of a process of accumulating data, and consequently it is safe to say that any judgment made in haste will be wrong. Ever had that experience? You judge something or somebody and later on you find out you were totally wrong about it? Yeah, I've done it. So if things are multifaceted, it follows that they may well appear different according to the perspective they are observed from. And thus the Buddha advises us to look at all sides of a matter, all sides of a situation, to use the qualities of fairness and impartiality. And those are not always easy to define, but an important element of both is the equality of treatment. Now, it is always prudent not to overemphasize some facts more than others and to consider all the evidence. And this allows us to look at the expression of the energy in any circumstance and recognize that with this understanding, we have the power to shift it. We can redirect that energy into a more positive outcome. So let's take some examples. If we are dealing with an illness, we can say, okay, everything is energy. So what is manifesting here? What energy is being misdirected? Because that's really what an illness is. Dis-ease, not being at ease because the energy is not flowing in the right direction. Eastern medicine, acupuncture, acupressure, all of those models of Eastern medicine, that's what they deal with, is the energy in the body and how to shift it. When Jesus facilitated healing, that's what he was working with, shifting a person's energy. He didn't have a scalpel. He didn't have pills. He used energy. And he said, all that I do, you can do and more when you believe what I have said. So how do we do it? How does this relate to our needs? Well, when we come into a non-judgmental consciousness, we have a clearer vision of what we need or what we do not need, and we can be grounded in what we will or will not accept in life. It's all about balance. We cannot maintain balance if we are not clear about our needs and what we will or will not accept into our lives. One of the most challenging areas I see in our world today is this need for balance. One of the big challenges or problems we see is that our whole world is out of balance right now, especially in the West. We have created a culture based on material acquisition. And there's nothing wrong with owning things until they start to own us. And, and that's where we get out of balance. So balance is knowing what we need and knowing what we do not need. So, any individual, any organization, any community who thinks they have to do everything or have everything cannot survive. I see that all the time. I see it in our economics. I see it in our politics. I even see it in our daily lives and our institutions. We have this consciousness that either we have to have everything or we have to do everything. I see it in ministry, where a minister will think, well, I have to do it all, which is unbalanced. That's an unbalanced minister. It's an unbalanced ministry. I've watched many leaders burn out because of that. And it's a lesson I myself have learned over the years. And I'm saying this because the last couple months, I witnessed a miracle. Did you know that? And you did too, but you may not be aware of it. I watched a large group of people work together, identify what their places where they shined were, and said, this is mine to do, and this is not mine to do. And they worked together to create the Sustainable Glamour Gala we just had. It started with one person's idea, Novella's. Yeah, I'm going to brag on her. And spread to all of you who volunteered to make it happen. But do you really have any idea of what you did? Do you? The incredible thing you accomplished. Yes, the gala was an incredible success in terms of funds raised. We don't know how much we actually raised yet, but it was a goodly amount. But for me, in terms of watching what happened, the miracle was that you came together as a community. You identified what each one of your skills were. You determined what you could do, could not do, would not do, and because of that, the event on Friday night was like watching a beautiful ballet. It really was. I was sitting back there. Yes, it was. I was sitting back there because I kind of stayed away from this one. I told Novella, this is your baby. And then she said, this is your baby. And you all birthed a beautiful baby. But I sat back there and I watched. And I helped a little. But I watched. And I watched how well choreographed it was. How those of you who were in the kitchen, the food was phenomenal. I didn't get to taste it, but I smelled it. And I do know that I heard from many of the attendees how great it was. I watched our servers come out. And my gosh, that was like watching the most well-trained staff I'd ever seen. You guys did awesome. And of course, the models and the hair, are Dan and Jeff here today? Our hairdressers, yes, wow. and Rod. And that guy over there played nonstop for 2 hours. So a miracle happened. We moved from being a minister-led community to a community-led community. And that's been my goal for 2 years. And it's going to grow from there. Sure, yeah, there are some things we discovered we can do better next time. There always are. And if there aren't, then what's the point? But not very many. And because of the work that was done in the months and the weeks ahead, especially for those who were in the arena, so to speak, from the very beginning, throughout the process, you collaborated to create an energy of abundance and cooperation which led to a thriving community. That's how we change the world, by working together. And as individuals, as part of a greater whole, recognizing what is ours and what is not ours. What we will say yes to, and importantly, what we will say no to. Some people said, no, I cannot do that. That's authenticity. And that's what changes the world. Because when we can recognize that, we can say, I don't have this skill, or I don't have this burning desire to do this, but that person there does. And so I give that person the power to step into their light and share their gifts. That's what it's all about. That's how we co-create that world that works for all. That's how we bring things back into balance and shift the energy and allow it to flow as it should. As individuals, we learn to say yes and we learn to say no. You know, I've been to many motivational events where motivational speakers get up there, and one of the things they say, and I bought into it for years, is say yes to everything. I've come to realize that saying yes to everything is probably not healthy. It throws us out of balance if we say yes to something that is not us. This is where we use the power of discernment, where we realize that no is a perfectly acceptable thing to say. Think about what Jesus said, and again, I'm going to put it into modern English. All you need to say is simply yes or no. Anything beyond that comes from the evil one. And the evil one, of course, is our own ego. Because ego says, well, I have to say yes. Because if I don't do it, nobody else will. It's okay if something doesn't get done, guys. Or, well, nobody can do it as well as I can. Or, well, they expect me to say yes because all the time I was growing up, I was told you have to always be helpful. You have to always do whatever people ask you to do. There's so many reasons. But there is power in the word no. And that power is where we begin to become aware of who we truly are. No, this is not something I have a skill at. You notice I do not sing? There's a reason. I shared with the music team one time, I tried to join a choir once and they asked me to sing tenor, 10 or 12 miles away. That's self-awareness. And we can empower everyone in the world to have self-awareness. So what is it all about? It's all about learning to align with our message or purpose in life. That was our first lesson in this series. Discerning what our purpose was that we had when we were born. We came here with a purpose. And if you're here today, you have not fulfilled it. Don't take that bad. I'm here today too. I have not fulfilled mine yet. That's why we're still here. The second thing we learned was to trust our inner guidance, what we call the Christ within, the divine mind, the voices, if you will, the voices of God. And we have to realize we can trust that because we have been raised in a culture that says, trust your leaders, trust this, trust that. Almost never do you hear, trust your own spirit within. The third lesson was allow our light to shine. We are meant to be shining lights. Every living thing is meant to be a shining light. And then to live with intention, to live towards our purpose. Last week we talked about being aware of our life energy, and we learned that our body is never older than 7 years old. So we are always filled with this ongoing current of life. And knowing now, today, we've learned how to maintain our balance by knowing what is ours to do and what is not ours to do, by being able to say no when it's appropriate, and empowering each other to shine their own light. Do you realize that when you say, I cannot do this, not meaning that we don't have the ability, meaning I cannot do this because it's not what I am here to do, what happens? We give somebody else the power to step into their light because they say, yeah, I know how to do that. If we think we have to do it all, we take away from those around us. We take away their opportunity to shine. So we empower each other to shine. And as we do that, we move all of us, everyone we know, everyone we come in contact with, even those we don't know, by the vibration we put out there, we move into the life abundant that Jesus promised. And more importantly, into full expression of who we came here to be. Each and every one of you, each and every human being is meant to have life and have it abundantly. And we are discovering and we are proving that it is possible and that we can thrive as we experience a holistic, abundant life. Namaste.
All right, we have one more song. This is a jazz song by the great pianist Horace Silver. It's called Song for My Father. You guys ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. This little song from my father does things that no other can do. As I sing it to you, it has a rhythm and rhyme that will fasten his memory in time, as his beauty shines through. For through my mind and soul, my heart will always hold a special place for him. It's true. Ben. Hurula. Take it, Ryan. Brian Griesmeyer. It has when I pray every day's Father's Day. Let's review all that our Father means to you. Well, Mother's love is real nice, but old Dad sacrificed for us too. Let us give him his due. We're so proud to be in his biography. We sing this song for him.